Okay, great. Okay, hey everyone. So the big question that we have is AI going to take your job? Yes. Any questions? All right, well, AI wrote that joke, by the way, just so you know. So before we get into that, let's do an audience check here. So who here works on game design? Have quite a few people. Who here touches games marketing, like in any capacity, right? And I just realized that under games marketing, I also have games art. So who does games art here? Quite a lot of people. Okay, who does project management? And that includes like producers and everyone. Quite a few as well. Anyone from finance here? Oh no, there's one person here. I was not counting on that. Okay, anyone from HR? No one from HR. Good. No, one, two. Can you guys step out and close your ears for like the next 45 minutes? Okay, please don't take notes on this one because we kind of go into uncanny valley here on HR. And the other thing is contracts, but I assume no one does contract drafting here either. Good, good. All right. So the usually vocal AI enthusiasts, if you're on Twitter, Threads, whatever the pill of choice today is, you probably hear from crypto bros. This is also an AI generate image, but how AI is going to change the world and like how to make $20 gajillion in a week with AI and whatnot. And then the other people who will be very vocal about AI is the same people who promoted NFTs like a year ago. And I'm not into fads at all. I've been kind of like very skeptical on VR, on NFTs, on crypto in general, and on AI. About 7 years ago, I was at a small conference in Barcelona where there was this guy from a major game engine, and this was not recorded, this was like off the record, and he came on stage and said, yo, so within 5-7 years, you're going to be able to tell a program to generate a cat that can have a machine gun with a background of pigeons, and it will draw that for you. And then I was like, yeah, right. Well, here we are today. So I'm Alex Nichiporchik. I'm the CEO and founder of tinyBuild. We are a developer and publisher of dozens and dozens of titles. Right now we have 12 internal studios, we have 50 people in publishing, and hundreds of people that we work with. So if you are working on an indie game and you want a publisher, we would be the party to go to. If you're looking for a job working on games with a lot of emergent gameplay, please come talk to us. We are really deep into that. But today we're talking about, okay, let me see, about how this presentation will not age well. And 2 weeks ago, I was asked to send the draft over, and the draft that I had prepared had already aged because Zoom, the Midjourney Discord feature of Zoom got introduced. So I had like this whole like section of slides about how Photoshop can allow you to expand images, and now you can just do that within Midjourney because when you generate an image, you just press zoom out. And I will not be spending too much time here talking about the technical part because it's all Googleable. Like you literally just go like how to get ChatGPT into Excel, and it will show you the latest video or tutorial that will be relevant at that time. So for the tech part, just Google it. It will be relevant at the time. Like for example, this, this morning, I was like, how to put Excel into ChatGPT. Here are the latest videos from February. It's probably still relevant. And the 3 tools that I'll be talking about is going to be Photoshop, Midjourney, and ChatGPT. These are the most common tools. And like I said, when you go to Twitter and you search for AI tools, there's like this mega plugin that solves all of your world's problems. And it looks good on a demo. And then you start using it and it doesn't really work. So I'll be focusing on the raw tools and some basic Python scripting that I did to get these to work. But again, how you use them and how you integrate them is fully up to you. It's about what you do with them. So let's talk about AI for game design. Many of you may associate tinyBuild with a little game called Hello Neighbor that we published way back in 2017. Since then, we have like 7 games in the franchise. We have sold 4 million books based on this franchise. And the designer of this game has always been fascinated with AI, because back in 2017, it was all about the premise of the game was that you try to sneak into your creepy neighbor's house and find out what he's hiding in the basement. And the AI that powers your creepy neighbor is the joke. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't played it. It's sentient. It becomes sentient as you play the game. So the game is actually played on these two narrative levels of what you see on the surface, and then the actual game is that the AI is sentient and you're actually torturing it and it's trying to communicate with you to get out. So the designer of the game had a really interesting idea of when he figured out what ChatGPT is. He was like, well, can I create a script within ChatGPT that would fuel the logic of my game? And I'm not sure if you guys can read all of this, but essentially he outlines all of the rules that we have. We have a house, you can do this, you can do that. Let's play a game with ChatGPT. Then he starts playing it. It goes like, here is your nav mesh, here's what you can do, here is the rooms, and here is the intruder that is in your house. Now, what happens here is the AI tries to figure out what the boundaries are, what the AI can do. Really interestingly, I believe on this slide, it tries to overcomplicate things. And then it will also assume during this conversation that the AI is supposed to be scared, which was quite interesting, because someone is sneaking into your house, you should probably be scared. We go like, no, that's not the case. Reply in simple commands, this and that. And we reiterate, rely in simple instructions. I chase you through the corridor. I attempt to physically stop the intruder, this and that. And in this session, the AI is learning of what are the rules, what is happening, and we reinforce it. And eventually it gets to here. And this, I skipped a few pages of learning here, but literally this is a description of what the neighbor, the AI in Hello Neighbor, does in the game. So we're like, okay, this description is pretty good. Why don't you feed it to me in JSON form? Okay, now we can use this in the game. And the rest of the stuff I'm not going to show you in screenshots. I'm going to just tell you what happens. Well, it has logic here. It has an output. The original idea was to use this output in real time within the game client, so that you can actually go like, okay, well, the player is here, the client says that. What does the AI do? It's really expensive, like as in monetary expensive. First off, there is lag, and then secondarily, well, you have to pay for each and every request. But what you can actually do is you can have this same conversation start writing script in whatever language you want to create a behavior tree for this same situation. And if that behavior tree matches, you can continue this conversation to essentially both design and code your game, which is quite interesting for game design. And if you really want to dive deep into game design, my good friend Oleg Chumakov just Googled this title, right? He actually made a full-on game using ChatGPT and Midjourney. Yeah, take pictures of this. It's a really fascinating read. And he has all of the prompts included, and they actually shipped the game during a game jam. It kind of shows you the limitations and the genre that you can use, the visuals, etc. But in terms of game design, I do believe that there are so many tools now that will allow game designers to evolve. That said, let's talk about marketing. Now, I assume everyone knows how Steam works here, right? We have wish lists, we have Steam pages that go up. What not many people may realize is that today you have to treat your Steam page as a social media post. So many developers will get their Steam page live and go like, okay, well, then I'll do some marketing, I'll see how it goes. But what actually happens based on the Steam algorithm is you have to put your page live. It needs to have really appealing key art, really appealing everything, and it needs to be wishlisted. We call it the wishlist through rate, WTR. We essentially calculate the amount of traffic that goes to the page every day and the amount of wishlists that we have. The higher the rating is, the more traffic you start getting within Steam. So your external traffic actually fuels your internal traffic. And the way that you optimize this is, well, by having really good key art. First off, you need to have a really good thumbnail that entices people to go ahead and wishlist the game, to click on it before wishlisting. And then you have all of the other stuff. Okay. So, I mean, let me just stand here so that I don't awkwardly go. Now, a bunch of this art is just mid-journey, right? But your key art is, I mean, I don't need to say this to many of you, but I will reiterate because I see a lot of people doing it. It needs to stand out. And what most designers will do is they'll have this big, like 27-inch monitor, and then you'll be looking at the key art that's there, and you go like, wow, this looks amazing. And then take that same key art, put it on your phone. See how easy it is to read. See how the shape is distinguishable. See how the color pattern is. Because, for example, well, this one on this screen and that one, I mean, it might look okay, but if you print this image out, it's going to look terrible. So what we do quite a lot is we do what's called fake marketing. And by fake marketing, I mean, we'll just create like a fake Facebook page, a fake Twitter account, a fake Instagram, whatever, and we will start experimenting. We'll usually do it at very minimal resource, like, you know, let's say spend $500 or $1,000 on marketing to see if the game was, I was using an example of a train game here, a train going through a zombie apocalypse. What kind of shapes will people gravitate to? What kind of target audience will people want, will be enticed to click on specific key art? And then what you do is you A/B test a lot of it. And you will be surprised by some results because artists will fall in love with their work quite often. And the marketeers will be like, no, I need conversions. This is a really cheap, objective way to go to Midjourney, get some prompts in, figure out what people will be gravitating towards. And what you do is you separate this into layers. At least I found that to be the most useful way. So you'll tell Midjourney, hey, give me hero art X on a white background. Hey, give me a background with no foreground characters that has this, this, and this. And then you start combining those layers, and you have a really interesting and objectively clear idea of what your artists are going to do. Because the time that actual people spend on drawing, on testing, it's really expensive, right? We are all seeing the wages, the cost of living crisis. If you can have pre-production on your marketing, you essentially save a lot of costs here. Now, what we learned is that on average, concept art that would take us about 5 days goes to half a day. It's usually a producer's time of about 45 minutes to get some stuff done in Midjourney, talk to the person that does the actual art, they'll tweak it and whatnot, then we'll launch the campaign. You do have to make some prep work on getting the pages up, but it really, really goes so much faster. And you can test it. That's the main thing. You don't go like, oh, I like this key art. No, just test like 20 pieces of key art. And style guides. Our art directors that have embraced these tools, they used to spend weeks on drawing style guides and references and whatnot. Like literally this morning, I got a new iteration of a style guide from yesterday. Like completely new art on a game that we're working on. And it was just like based on feedback, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll just reiterate these prompts and then draw over them real quick, and here's our new guide. So for marketing and for concept art, this is integral to your toolkit. If you're not using this on a day-to-day basis, you're going to get left behind. I guarantee it. Like within 3 months, you're going to be left behind. Oh yeah, this meme is now a little bit sarcastic, the way that I talk about it, but the people who are saying that, hey, this is stupid, the art is going to be so much better if you draw it not by AI, yeah, you're going to be left behind because this is a digital revolution of the digital age. And the metaphor that I like to use here, and by the way, this is all Midjourney, like all of the art in this presentation is Midjourney. So the way that I look at it is if you're saying that, hey, I don't want to do this, well, you'll be the blacksmith that is making a sword. It's going to be a really nice sword, but there is a factory being built there in the background that is going to produce 1,000 swords that might be 80, might be 85% as good, but they will make 1,000 of them a day. versus your one sword a week. The one thing I will say is that ChatGPT absolutely sucks for marketing copy. I'm sure you've all seen this by now when you read something and you go, AI probably wrote it. And this is where a lot of community managers, a lot of marketing people, a lot of PR people even fall into a trap of going like, hey, I'll just have this prompt and I'll have ChatGPT write the whole text for me. No, don't do that. What you should do is use ChatGPT for inspiration in the marketing copy of checking facts or asking like, hey, what are the tropes of this genre, right? What are the keywords for this genre? Or this is the type of game that I'm making with these kind of keywords. Find me reference material. But don't generate materials. Like copywriters were going to be the first ones to like go with the AI revolution. No, it's actually the other way around, which I find quite amusing. Now, contracts. This is a boring part of my job when I would need to go to our contract department. They would reach out to legal when we have like some contract from 5 years ago. I don't understand how it's written. It's like a bunch of words that are just gibberish. And then you spend $500-600 talking with a lawyer for 1 hour, and then they bill you for every minute of that hour, and then for every word that they send in an email. I hate lawyers if you haven't noticed yet. But drafting contracts is not possible yet. I think it will get there. I think it will get there within a year or so. But right now, the person drafting contracts in your company is not going to lose their job, which is good news. But it's still coming. It's going to get there quite soon. What I noticed is that it will try to create overly complicated language and will also not know jurisdiction, right? And because UK law is going to be different from like Delaware law and then all around the European Union and different states in the US. So because of those kind of complexities, unless someone creates a dedicated tool, it's not going to happen. However, reading contracts is like the best time saver ever. If you ever read the contract, you like, even your employment agreement, and you're like, these words make no sense. What do they mean? Just copy it, paste it into ChatGPT. What I will say is that make sure to obfuscate all personal data, because if you're using the free version of ChatGPT, just go like search for my name, replace that. Search for my address, replace all within Word or Google Docs or whatever. Just obfuscate your data, make code words, and then it's totally fine to use it. And just ask it simple questions. Just use ChatGPT instead of legal when you need simple answers. Now, this is an example of very recently. Last week, we are moving to a new office and in the Netherlands, and my Dutch is really bad. I've lived there for 10 years, but I still don't speak it. But the rental agreement looks, very simple, very straightforward, but it's in Dutch. So I was like, okay, let's try to feed it. We obfuscate it and ask it very simple questions, like what is a termination clause? It just does it for you. It just gets it out there, really easy, really straightforward, saves you a lot of time, and we would have spent days and hundreds of euros if we were to involve legal. Now, this is my favorite one, because remember I said that I hate reading contracts that are overly complicated, hence thereafter, whatever, butt plug. The amount of unnecessary words used by lawyers who, well, I mean, lawyers need to make money, right? So I get that, but they will create contracts that will require you to go back to them to understand what has been written. And again, this is a really easy tool to go ahead and simplify your life. Again, second opinions via AI. I have done this several times when there is a contract that is under question, like what does this mean? Well, legal has said this assessment. Then you go to second lawyer, get a second opinion, and you get ChatGPT to get your third opinion or second. This is a really good way to confirm that you're sane, because many lawyers will also do fear mongering, which will kind of like incite an emotional response from you to make a decision based on fear, which will be the most conservative decision and usually result in most work for legal. If you didn't notice, I hate lawyers. So use it for second opinions, use it as much as possible. Just don't forget to obfuscate. Please obfuscate personal data and any kind of identifiable data. It's not like we now know how much PlayStation exclusives cost. Now, AI for meetings. This is actually what got me into this whole subject, because a couple of people within our company were like, holy shit, we can do this and that and that. And I'm like, this is Black Mirror. Show me. So someone really smart constantly tells me this, that if it has not been written down, if it's just been said, it has not been said. You need to write down everything. Until today, because today, I'm not sure if you know, but all of these tools, like any kind of video conferencing tool, will most likely by default have transcriptions on. And check with your systems admin, because people go, oh no, we didn't turn on transcriptions. Yeah, it's probably on, you just can't see it. For example, if you're using G Suite with Google, by default, it will always transcribe everything and store it in the database. Only the super admin can see this setting. So to put it in another way, everything you say on your tools of choice is being recorded and transcribed. And every single keyword is indexed and searchable. It's kind of creepy when you think about it, but it does open up a lot of opportunities. Because if your configuration enables names, then the meeting notes part of meetings is now gone, because it all becomes automated. So what you can do is you can hook up your Google Meets, your Zoom, whatever, and depending on how you do it, you might just do a raw export, like get the whole SRT file, it's just a text file. If it does have names attached to when people are talking, you can do a lot with it. You can just feed it raw into ChatGPT. Don't forget to obfuscate it. What I usually do is I have a simple Python script that breaks down this file into like 5-6 chunks. And it replaces all of the personal emails, like instead of Alex, it says like Wolverine or something, it's all X-Men there. And it will be able to interpret this as long as you give it instructions. So ChatGPT will be able to tell you, hey, here is what has been discussed. Here are the open questions. Here are the follow-up points. Here is this, here is that. And if you keep it within the same thread, it will continue to learn and understand what has been going on. So for example, if you have a weekly standing meeting, you have discussed this, it has been done. If you put it in the same thread within ChatGPT, it is going to continuously update it. So it's essentially a semi-autonomous meeting note-taking thing, which is very useful. Nothing ever gets forgotten, but you can actually take it a lot further. Now, I personally hate Jira. I love Monday. Monday is amazing. But whatever your task tracker of choice is, you can get an agent for that task tracker. They're called agents for AI. And you can use the same notes that have been done, like with follow-ups and action items, and you can assign automatically tasks within your task management tool. And this is extremely powerful, because you have a meeting, imagine, right? And then within 5 minutes after the meeting, all of the tasks are assigned. It's not half an hour, it's not an hour, it's not like talking back and forth. It's all like, if you said something, there's a task assigned that because you said you're going to do it. And it's a really powerful accountability tool, and also in a way a morale booster, because everyone says, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, yeah, here's a reminder for me, I'm going to do this. And you can get it quite deeply configured when you add fields like, okay, well, here is the amount of time that is going to take. Yeah, it was discussed. How much time do you think is going to take? It's probably 2 days. 2 days, there you go. The AI will assign 2 days to this task. It's creepy and really, really useful. Now, this will work, I'd say about 80% of the time, because quite often it will, like if you have chit chat, for example, like, hey, what did you do on the weekend? Oh yeah, I fixed my car. Task, fix car next week, or something like that. So you do need to be mindful about the communication style and the timestamps. You can say like, hey, actual discussion starts here when this person joined, or after this timestamp. So there is a level of configurability that you need to do, but most of the time it does work well. But just make sure that your task manager bot has really, really strict rules. The worst thing that can happen is that the meeting ends and then your task list is just like flooded with 300 tasks because it misinterpreted and everything that the person said is a task now. And I'm not sure how many people here have ADD when they receive a whole bunch of notification emails. When I have that, I just have like a nervous tick there. And that has happened. It's a learning process. It's going to be fine, but it's extremely powerful and it saves a lot of time. So yeah, I mean, note-taking and project management, this thing is going away quite fast. I think by end of year, many companies will not need that. Now, finance. We had a couple of people in finance here, right? So the way that you do automated accounting, and I found this quite fascinating. So, for example, we're a public company and we need to do a lot of auditing. It's when you prepare an Excel sheet and like everything needs to match and whatnot. It used to take days to verify export and files and whatnot. You can bring ChatGPT right into your Excel sheet and give it control. You can do a lot of things with that. You can ask it to check formulas. You can ask it to check summaries. You can ask it to write a formula for you. And I'm not sure about you guys. I used to be a really bad JavaScript programmer. That's why I don't program anymore. But doing formulas in Excel gives me a headache. And you just go like, hey, give me the summary of revenues here. Give me the summary of costs over there. And it's just straightforward and easy. Now, if anyone has worked with QuickBooks, they'll understand the pain of this, because whenever you have accounting and software, and this is really exciting stuff, AI and accounting, right? But when you have an export that is broken in Excel, you just have raw data there, right? And the formulas are broken. And what many accountants need to do is spend days on figuring out what is the formula here? How did you get to this number? And reverse engineering that. You can just like one click with ChatGPT and all of that is done. And then go make yourself a coffee. The one thing that I actually use daily is my Excel sheets look terrible. They're like a madman has had a bender and made a bunch of random incomprehensive things, and I just like, make it look nicer, please, and it will structure it for you, and it will learn what you like. You can actually have two sheets next to each other, one like someone who is a professional made it, and your own sheet, and go, hey, can you make this look like that, and take a few iterations and make it look nice. Keep your Excel sheet sizey, please. Now, AI for HR. And I realized as I was writing this that it's actually, the topic here is more AI for preventing burnout. And I know that burnout is a really, really serious subject in the industry. So this one was quite bizarrely Black Mirror-y for me. So 99% of the time when you identify that someone's burned out, it's usually too late, right? The person needs time off, etc. There were burned bridges, and it's not a pleasant situation. And then this is how people leave the industry, and we don't want people to leave the industry. What you may not know is that outside of feeding all of the Google Meets and Zoom and whatnot information, you can feed Slack. You can feed any kind of task manager. You can feed any kind of comments and get data from that. And when you do that, you can actually harvest a lot of it and do things like the I-me analysis. I should really copyright this because, to my knowledge, no one has invented this. But I started noticing when we got to, I'd say about 50 people, right now we're 500, that there are patterns of behavior, especially during the pandemic, when people will, you can just kind of like count on the on a notepad or like on a clicker the amount of times the person says I or me, especially in a large meeting. And you go like, huh, that doesn't feel really good. Why is that? Well, there is a direct correlation between the amount of time someone uses I or me in a meeting compared to the amount of words they use overall to the probability of the person going to a burnout. It's quite interesting psychology. I recommend you read up on this about essentially lack of self-reflection when people are self-centered. And what you can do is do that. Essentially ask HR, if you're in a position of management, hey, who are the potential problematic players on the team, right? Who people are complaining on and whatnot. Do this analysis and then compare that to A players. I guarantee you that your A players will not have a high correlation compared to your people that might be potentially burning out. Now, the second one is this not AI generated. It's just a really good show. What we do in the shadows, I highly recommend it. The second one that we correlate here is what I call time vampires. You know how in a meeting, especially in a virtual one, someone just talks for like 45 minutes out of the hour, and then nothing gets done. And what I noticed is that, okay, that's unpleasant, but then once that person is no longer with the company or with a team, the meeting takes 20 minutes and we get 5 times more done. And I was like, it would be easy for me to say, oh, okay, I just got rid of a toxic person and whatnot. But why is that? Well, we did this analysis retroactively with a few people that we either had to let go or that left that turned out to be burned out. And compare that to the IME analysis and also to the infamous 360 review. I mean, many companies probably have this. Some people do it like this, where you have yourself, your managers, your peers, your colleagues, and then everyone gives each other direct feedback. We do it in a slightly different way in publishing, at least. We ask people for not necessarily the negative flags. We ask for positive nominations. Like, name 5 people that are not part of your team that you've interacted with in a positive way, right? And then we do it in a deductive way, right? So that people who don't get these nominations are the ones that might not be performing as well. So you cross-reference all of that data together, and you might just be able, within an organization of over 20 people, identify someone who is on the verge of burning out, who might be the reason the colleagues that work with that person are burning out, and you might be able to identify it and fix it really early on. Again, this is very Black Mirror level of stuff, but it works. Retroactively, it works, and we're now proactively working, where we had our first case last week where a studio lead was not in a good place. No one told us. Had we waited for a month, we would probably not have a studio. So I'm really happy that that worked. Now, the one thing that I will say is, and I've noticed this was myself, and originally this part of the presentation was about how to prevent toxicity. And I wrote this, the original draft, a couple of weeks ago when the conference asked me to, and I was like, reading it this morning, I'm like, this doesn't feel positive. So when you wield these kind of tools, half glass, half empty, half full, identifying toxic people, well, toxic people are usually the ones who are about to burn out. So when you do these kind of things, please always stay positive. I constantly catch myself on that of being, cynical or trying to do things one way or the other. Please use these kind of tools for positivity. Do never, ever make your team members feel like they're being spied on or anything like that. Use this for good, please. Now, and this is my outdated Photoshop section, right? I was like, hey, Midjourney, generate me a robot hello neighbor, and then I'll plop it into Photoshop and extend it, and that's how it's going to look on try number 1, then on try number 2, and then eventually it would go ahead and allow me to extend the image, but none of this matters because Midjourney now has a zoom out function. So you can just literally continue zooming out, and then it's all great. But Photoshop is good at a few things. One thing that was really surprising is isometric pixel art. Like, why that? Because it doesn't do a lot of things great, but we were doing some test screenshots for Steam for an isometric pixel art game that we're working on, and we just generated 50 screenshots, did an ad campaign with a fake marketing that I talked about, and now we have a really high conversion rate for the game that's coming out in a few weeks. So that was really good. But I'd say that Photoshop and its AI, the ad campaign for it that many saw was a car and the sun over here, I feel like it was misrepresented because if you don't know how to use Photoshop, AI Photoshop is not going to help you. So learn how to use Photoshop and then use the tools that are supplied there. So let's recap. Is my job safe? Well, I think this picture kind of summarizes where I was getting at, because we now have so many tools at our disposal that there will be stubborn people that are doing what's called, what they're doing is, it's an actual English word, I looked it up. It's called spuddling, S-P-U-D-D-L-E, spuddle. To spuddle means doing a lot of work while achieving absolutely nothing. And right now, it might feel like we're doing a lot of work and we're achieving a lot. But very soon, if we don't adapt new tools, we're going to be like the guy in this picture going like, hey, what are you guys doing? This is kind of irrelevant. So I think that right now, we're kind of at this inflection point of AI. And I think especially in game development, because game development is a new industry, we are constantly innovating. We have every couple of years our products change, and we're not in an industry where we can continue doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same results or predictable returns. What we need to do is innovate, and I think that within the next couple of years, we're going to see this wave of innovation for studios that will be able to achieve what today takes 50 people, we'll be able to do with 5. And then imagine what kind of output we're going to have. So to conclude, the way that I look at it is that we're essentially at the industrial revolution of the digital age, where we can create a lot more content, we can achieve a lot more output, and with that, we just need to make sure that we are ahead of the curve, because as an industry, we're always innovating, so let's embrace these tools to continue innovating. And with that, thank you. Add me anywhere. My surname is really easy to spell.
Okay, Alex, we've got about just under 10 minutes for questions. So anyone put your hands up, we'll run the microphone to you.
Oh, good questions. I was going to crack stupid jokes, but thank you.
Please do, please do. Hi, Andrew Smith from Spilt Milk Studios. I really like how you seem to be approaching the challenges, like the way that you talk about your mindset and being positive in the use of these tools. I wonder how you convinced your blacksmiths to help them help you build the factory, to use your kind of analogy earlier on. How do you bring people who don't necessarily want to along with you? How did you approach that challenge?
We did a lot of workshops and examples, because it's really easy to get dissuaded by hey, this is like the next big thing, right? Try this, try that. And what people do is open up social media with a crypto bros going like, yeah, man, go ahead, do AI. We just wrote a bunch of practical examples, or like staged practical examples, like what got me, and I was in that camp, by the way. Like 4 or 5 months ago, I was like, AI, whatnot. But then one of our producers drags me into a meeting room and says, hey, here's the meeting we just had. Here's the summary. I was like, it's been like 45 seconds. What do you mean? And he shows me how it was done. I was like, oh, so practical examples. I think like it doesn't matter what type of task and whatnot, just use practical examples and surprise people. Surprise people in an easy way and show exactly how it's done. I think that is the best way. Maybe there are others.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 questions here.
Hey, I was just wondering, when you started using more and more AI in your processes, like how much fact checking did you have to do to build trust in the tool set, and how much fact checking do you do now with the data that comes out?
That's why you don't let it draft contracts. So fact checking, like I can kind of get what you're referencing to when it was like ChatGPT was making stuff up. If you tell ChatGPT, please don't make stuff up, it won't.
And how about your finance and task tracking?
Oh, yeah. So in terms of finance and like Excel sheets and whatnot, it doesn't make stuff up with data, right? When you feed it numbers, it just is quite objective in terms of numbers. And what we've been doing is like, obviously you need to like audit, like selectively audit the things that it does in your Excel sheet. And what we've been doing is we've been sending it to auditors, right? And it's their job to audit. So fact checking, like initially very, very thoroughly, but then the more you understand how you use the prompts and what the output is, it becomes easier to trust it. It's kind of like when cars start getting the lane assistance, right? Oh, it's autopilot, I'm going to let go of my hand. No, like you need to understand where the limitations of the system are.
Cool, thank you.
Hi, thanks. Interesting talk. There's some probably pretty big questions around the legal and maybe ethical side of the use of AI, and I wondered if you had any opinions on that.
Can you expand the question because it can go into different directions?
Well, there seem to be questions around the copyrightability, for instance, on the legal side, or where all the data has been brought from, and whether or not the data has been ethically mined in the first place. Midjourney, for instance, seems to be rife with that side of things. You seem to be embracing the technology, and I wondered how you arrived at that decision.
Yeah, so in production, we don't use any AI assets at this point, right? We use it for pre-production, essentially, for marketing, for figuring out what works and what doesn't. But then the actual work, the final, like Midjourney generate image, it gets given to the actual artists that do the actual work. Now, in terms of, like, for example, code copyright, that's a whole different ball game that I don't think lawyers have their heads wrapped around yet. The ethical part of it is, well, I mean, it's always going to be debatable, right? As much as I would want to say, like, yeah, just use it, there are a lot of things that I didn't put into slides that people are doing now. So, for example, and this is illegal according to Google terms of service, so don't do it, right? But hypothetically, if you would, you could scrape comments on popular videos on YouTube to figure out what people are into to generate a lot of clickbaity both thumbnails and both descriptions and titles of videos that would play into YouTube's algorithm that would get a lot of views. But that would be illegal. And you shouldn't do it.
I won't. Thank you.
Okay, I think we had more questions over here, over there. Sorry, this slide is like right in my face, so I'm pretending I'm seeing everyone.
You talked a few times about obfuscation. Can you talk a bit more about how you would actually do that?
Oh, right. So obfuscation, when it's autonomous via script, you just feed all of the personal data that you may have, like company names. It just needs to be like a big Excel sheet of all of your employees, all of the contracts, all of the companies you work with. So stuff that is personally identifiable, addresses, emails, etc. And when you run it through the script, you just say like, hey, this gets replaced to this. Right, and then it's not personally identifiable, and you can just go ahead and use it because no matter how much people can say like, hey, ChatGPT paid might not be like indexable and whatnot, data leaks happen all the time. So I always recommend to use keywords, code words, and obfuscate your data. But in script form, it just takes a little bit of time. Once you have done it, it's really easy. But if you do it manually, then copy paste into Word. Search for these keywords, replace all. That's it. Okay, do we have any more questions or are we? Oh, okay. Two more here.
Hi, thanks, Alex. Great talk. Following on from that point of obfuscation, do you not have a concern about services learning how you're running your business, what you're doing in your business, even if you obfuscate the names of games and parties, etc.?
That's always a risk, but it's kind of like, yesterday we were walking around and we go like, ooh, McDonald's is here. And then I get an ad for McDonald's within like 2 minutes. So it feels like, we say that we have personal data, but with a device that is definitely not listening to you, definitely not has a camera on, definitely doesn't heat up, and then 2 gigs of traffic goes through your VPN, yeah, we're totally safe. So it feels like that's a concern, right? But then in the grander scheme of things, companies already know everything about us. Just don't think about. Okay, I think last question, yeah? Oh, okay, I think we're done. Thank you so much, everyone.